Pressing the button is beneath you.
No, it's not what I want to do.
It's beneath you. Pressing the button is beneath me. Dean, please make it so. Press thy button.
Press the button.
It is done. All right. Would you like to start?
I can. You're going to give us that fantastic rate. I like your radio intro. It's way better.
Okay. It's Dino and Joe Show. This is Dino, and that right there is Joe.
That's me. See, that's classic. That's fantastic.
I can't.
This guy right here. How are you?
How are you, my friend?
You know, I asked you first, but I'll be happy to respond first. I'm doing well. It is annoyingly snowy in Chicago, which is, it's not dangerous. It's just, it won't stop snowing. It doesn't accumulate. It just irritates you when you're walking around someplace.
Right.
That's my biggest grievance.
We have a mutual friend. You know him well. We'll call him J.O., shall we?
Okay, yeah.
And
I'm picking up what you're putting down, yeah.
And I literally was in one of those moments where I'm just complaining about the 3 inches of snow that we got, right? Sure. Because I had to go out and shovel the driveway. It's cold. It's 3 inches of snow. Okay. And then I go, well, how much snow have you got? And he goes, well, there's 3 feet on the ground right now. And I was like, I'm done complaining.
Yeah, that's enough.
Yeah. I don't feel as bad as I did.
How are you? What's new and exciting? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
How you are immediately.
Oh, totally fine. I'm doing well. I got this new temporary gig thing going, and I'm Canadian now. And even though I don't live in Canada, everybody I deal with in Canada. So true story. This will be fun for you, yes. Because there is this thing I call Canadian nice.
It's a real thing.
Literally the nicest people I've ever met in my life, right? And I find myself going out of my way to try and like be more nice than I normally am because I feel bad when I'm not. Like, right. So like the other day I sent out an email, right? And I sent it just as I would write an email, very direct to the point. And I get back, good morning. And I was like, oh, whoops. Yeah, I didn't really do a greeting. I just kind of jumped into it, right? And so it's just culturally very different. But I'm talking to a guy, and not to get too deep, but he has a business that coincides with our business, and he wants us to jump into his business. He had this whole plan. I didn't like it. And I said no, which didn't make him happy. But the whole precursor to even the conversation, and I knew the conversation was not going to go well because he's talking. He's like, oh, where are you at? Thinking I'm in Canada. And filling in this role, I don't live in Canada. Everybody I deal with in Canada. And I say, oh, I'm in Ohio in the United States. And he's like, oh, how are things there? I said, well, we're not, really shut down. We're able to go places. We're able to do things. And he's like, well, you're the reason why our borders are closed. I'm like, okay. I don't think I'm the reason.
I think you are.
Yeah,
you specifically.
Yeah, completely my fault. And I realized at that point, like Canadian Nice was out the window. Yeah. And then like it didn't go well. So he didn't like the conversation. But yeah, I am the reason why the borders are closed between the US and Canada.
This could have all been fixed if you simply put a nice little greeting and a little thank you, yours truly, respectfully, just a little closer. And everything would be fine.
Added a closer to my email now.
What is it?
It's all the best.
Wow. All right. Yeah. So you're the guy who like one-ups everybody.
That's
it's
right.
It's not thanks. It's not respectfully. It's like all my best to you, and you're gonna take it because this is an email.
All the best. It's now a part of every email. And I also took off the how at the bottom of the email you can put like people put different like sayings and stuff,
quotes
right?
Yeah.
And I had like several quotes, and they were all very like performance-driven quotes, shall we say?
Okay.
Like if you're not first, you're last, kind of stuff.
I love that.
And I took them all off.
Dealing with Canadians, yes, because
they're not
Canada,
about.
If you're not first, you're second first.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's there's
okay.
Always, yeah. You're also talking to a lifelong Cubs fan, so not being first there's always next year.
There's always
next year. Yeah. Literally, there's always next year until there isn't. But
And I realized, like, I drive, like, in my professional life, even in my personal life, like, I'm very competitive, right? I'm very much like, we're going to win, right? And yeah, I very quickly was like, it doesn't feel appropriate now dealing with Canadians.
To do that? That's understandable.
So I've taken that all off now. I'm becoming a kinder, gentler version of me.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't think it's believable either, but
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, it's very funny. Very funny.
Keep that to your professional life. Personally, be you.
Oh, I'm still competitive.
Of course.
Yes.
You just suppress it.
I do. I hold it deep down.
Hold it deep down, and one day
I'm just gonna snap. It's gonna be just boom.
I can see you rolling your shopping cart at the grocery store, and another guy trying to get to the door, and you're just gonna sprint in front of him and say, "I beat you," and then just run. That's where your competitiveness is gonna really come out. It's just everyday mundane things.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, it's been very interesting. It's been a very interesting time, and we'll see what the next 6 months brings of filling in for this role and being Canadian.
That's exciting.
Yeah. What do you got going on?
No,
I don't. That's why I asked.
Nothing really. I re-enrolled for school. That's my biggest thing. Yeah.
So what do you want to be when you grow up?
What I want to, I don't know. So according to if you go off what my degree says, it says project manager. But is that what I want to do? I don't know. That just was something that interested me. Right. So that's my one of my focuses now is figuring out, how to do that to be a grown up like you and get a fun Canadian job.
Let's not be a grown up like me. Let's strive for a little bit higher.
A little higher.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to something greater.
You got it's steps.
Fantastic. I mean, my life is pretty let's be out of control, and it is really something to aspire to. But
yes, exactly. That's what I want to do. But yeah, that's my biggest going on right now. I think I can't think of anything else that's way too crazy. But one thing that I did want to discuss with you today.
Okay.
Having known you've been in the radio business for many years.
Yes.
I assume you've met a number of famous people that were fun, interesting, hilarious, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to share with you one of my personal favorite stories so I have a tendency to meet people in one of three places. And I have never been in radio. I've never been in show business, nothing like that. This is literally dumb luck.
Please say the bathroom. Please say the bathroom.
No. Well, if you go to O'Hare Airport, it kind of is a bathroom. So airports. Amusement parks.
The giant toilet that is O'Hare Airport.
I mean, it's nice, but let's be honest, it's not the best airport. So airports, amusement parks, or just random city streets. Those are the three places I have met a number of famous people out for no particular reason.
Airport, yes.
Yes.
What was the second one?
What was your second one? I don't even. Oh, amusement parks.
I've never met anybody in an amusement park that's a celebrity that I know of. And random streets. Yes. I ran into Michael Phelps.
Oh.
In New York City. I literally, my family and I were walking, and he comes out of a building and crosses the street, and we all just looked at him, and the kids didn't know, who it was.
Right.
And wait, the kids weren't even with us. Man, this story's so bad already because now I'm making stuff up.
No, this story is great. This story is
actually
fantastic.
Just my wife and I now that I think about this. But I remember he crossed the street and walked away, and I turned to my wife and goes, "Was that Michael Phelps?" She's like, "Yeah, I think so." And then we just kept walking, and it was like, all right.
Okay.
Well.
So I have two that I would like to share today.
Okay.
And the first one will be on a random street. The second one will be in an airport. So the first one, probably 2011.
Sure.
I am in Washington, D.C. for a friend's wedding. So my girlfriend at the time was a bridesmaid in a wedding of one of her friends. And she, of course, invited me. And I was like, of course, I love D.C. I think it was great. So, the first day we go around, we see all the Smithsonian, all that kind of fun stuff. We pick up her dress. The day of the wedding, of course, she's like, hey, can you go get this, and this while I get my hair done? Sure, no problem.
Okay.
So I have several hours to kill before this wedding. Several hours. And I'm wearing, just a black suit with a white shirt, but I am a man who feels that perhaps a tie is not appropriate. A bow tie is a little bit more appropriate. I love bow ties.
Really?
I enjoy a good bow tie. I don't do it often, but at special occasions, I do it. And I spent the whole day before not the whole day, but a majority of the day looking up YouTube videos in my free time, figuring out how to actually tie the dang thing.
Oh, so you're talking about an actual tie. Where this is not a Captain Clip-on. This is a real tied bow tie.
If I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. Because here's why. Can I tell you honestly?
Wait, so later on, did you have it like untied and hanging and like you were a lounge singer?
That is the only reason I wanted to go to a because that's what, as soon as we were done with dinner,
that's what I want.
And it hung down there. And do you know how many compliments from people that saw me throughout the wedding? Like, I wasn't anything special. I was literally sitting in the pews, but they saw me on the dance floor getting dinner or whatever. And they came up to me like, "Oh my God, that's a real bow tie. Good for you. That looked really good." And I was like, "Wow. Well, thank you." Yeah. Yes. Not to toot my own horn, but I did.
I'm a well-dressed man and I should be in GQ.
So here's what I'm going to say. One person in particular noticed my bow tie and was rather appreciative of it. So it is before the wedding, maybe about an hour beforehand. And I don't even remember what I was doing prior, but I am now walking to the church to get there, obviously. And I wanted to be a little bit early, see if my girlfriend or anybody needed anything. I'm walking down a street and I just walking along, and all of a sudden I see two black Suburbans in front of this very large glass building. Okay. So, whatever. Two big Suburbans. It is what it is. Maybe it's some fancy person. I don't know. So I'm walking, and I see these glass doors open about, I don't know, 100 yards ahead of me.
Right.
Okay. And it's guys in black suits with glasses on. And I notice one of them has an earpiece in, and I'm like, "Ooh, maybe it's like Burt Reynolds or something. I don't know. Maybe some fancy with some
Burt Reynolds. Of all the people it could be, I hope it's Burt Reynolds.
I would love to meet Burt Reynolds. Peace.
I mean, like, of all the celebrities like in your mind, you could be like, it could be a myriad of people, and you went, "Oh, maybe it's Burt Reynolds."
Maybe it is. I don't know.
I mean, it could be.
Admittedly, that was probably the least likely of the celebrities to be in DC, but still, that's what jumped into my mind. And I want to preface this entire story with, this is 100% true. There is no fabrication. It is how it happened, step by step. Walking. These guys come out. Now, one are on either side of the door, right?
Okay.
So they're clearly some sort of security, and they're looking. They see me. I approach the gentleman, and he's like, "Sir, could you just wait right there for 1 second? Take your hands out of your pockets." I was like, "Sure." I realize, based on the lapel pin, he is a United States Secret Service agent. So I'm like, "Well, this is interesting." I wait, and none other than William Jefferson Clinton walking out of, I think it's an art gallery, walking out. Now, I, in retrospect, wish I had addressed the former president differently. I said, "Hey, Bill." I didn't wait and said, "Hey, Bill." I wish I had a little bit more decorum, but I was a young, stupid kid, so whatever.
"Hey, Bill."
But God love him. He looks at me. He's like, "Hey, guy, nice bow tie." He gets into Suburban. They close the door, and they drive away. He just looks me up, and I was like, "Hey, guy, nice bow tie." Gets in and drives away. So that was probably the coolest moment of my life, that Bill Clinton pointed at my bow tie and liked it so much that that's what he commented on. He didn't say, "Hey, man, how you doing?" He said, "Nice bow tie." So the rest of the night, I was on cloud nine. I didn't care about anything. I was like, Bill Clinton just commented on my bow tie. Fantastic. Like the guy or not,
I'm done.
So I told this story at dinner to my girlfriend and all the people at our table, and they said, "There's no way." And I was like, "What do you mean?" It's like, "You're making that up." And I'm like, "Why would I make that up? That's such a weird thing to make up."
Right.
So they looked, somehow somebody knew how to figure out like a personal schedule or see what the guy did. And he was at the whatever building that was. He's like, "Oh, damn, that probably was Bill Clinton." I'm like, "Yes, it's Bill."
I mean,
like, you can't really mistake him for a lot. It's not Daryl Hammond in makeup, like just walking around. Like, it is Bill Clinton.
Oh, that's awesome.
So the rest of the night, and like you said, as soon as dinner was over, pull it, and it's just hanging down there like a butte. And people give me comments, and I was like, you and Bill Clinton both like the bow tie.
I don't know if you know this or not. Bill Clinton approves my choice in fashion.
That was one of my cooler moments. I liked it just because of the randomness. I mean, I guess it's not that random. He's in DC, but still, like, who thinks they're just going to run into Bill Clinton?
Sure.
Random.
Sure.
Number two. Oddly enough, the return flight home into Chicago O'Hare Airport. We were returning home. What?
bathroom that is Chicago O'Hare?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
The
Excellent. The toilet.
certain part.
You flew back
It
to the
has gotten
toilet.
better.
Okay.
But so we're in there. We have disembarked the plane. I am carrying. I have a very small wheeled carry-on suitcase, but my girlfriend, God love her, had like this huge thing and an extra bag. So I have this extra bag over my shoulder, and I'm wheeling mine in her suitcase so she can get off the plane and get comfortable or whatever.
Are you wearing the bow tie?
I am not. So I am in leisure attire. I am in leisurely attire. And I realized
the
this
bow tie
one
had like extra days worth of life because Bill Clinton commented on it.
It did not, but I still have the bow tie in the closet, and I did break it out for another wedding. Did not meet anybody famous, so that was kind of a bummer. But we move on. And I realized that I have a picture of this to prove that this part is true. But I'm walking around the airport, whatever, minding my business, and it's I'll have to find it in a minute. It's a regular day, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
I merely look up, and I notice a gentleman, older gentleman, white hair, black suit, blue shirt with no tie on, and he's just walking very, very determinedly towards his gate. Okay, I don't think anything. I look down and I'm like, my eyes widen. I realize who it is. So I feel very badly about this, and I was a young dumb kid. I take all of the bags off. I throw them at my girlfriend. I got to go meet this person, and I take off running. Okay,
you didn't take her with you.
She was. I love her, but I loved her, but she was going to drag me down. It just wasn't going to. It was not going to work. So, and this was a me thing. This was not a her thing. And
okay.
I don't know if you have determined this yet from the things I have discussed, but I am a person who is somewhat of a nerd, I guess.
No, really?
Look,
such a stretch.
This particular celebrity is most often noted for a few film appearances, his own television show where he his own money. But I knew him as President Richard Nixon's speechwriter. And he wrote a speech for him, I believe, in 1972 that I greatly enjoyed, and I studied in one of my history classes. And it was none other than Mr. Ben Stein.
Oh, wow.
Of Win Ben Stein's Money.
Yes, I do know Ben Stein.
So I
have no other reason why he's famous other than that show.
So, yes, you do. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He is the economics teacher who puts everybody to sleep. Bueller. That is.
Yeah. Okay.
So I approach this man, but so you have to imagine this. I approach him from the rear, but then like turn around and get in front of him, and I'm like, "Are you Ben Stein?" And he says,
"No." You just kept walking.
Saying he is alarmed is an understatement. He is very, very certain I am some sort of crazy person who's going to kill him. But I didn't, just to be clear. But he was with another woman that I didn't realize was with him. And again, it's 2010 maybe. I had a BlackBerry Pearl phone, so front-facing cameras were not a thing.
Sure.
At that time, it was not. Right. It just wasn't. Everything was the rear-facing camera, and by the way, the rear-facing camera not good at all.
Not 10 years ago, no.
It was very bad. So what I had done was, here it is. I found it. So I had approached him and I was like, "Are you Ben Stein?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "I'm so sorry. I'm a huge fan. I love the speech you wrote for Nixon in 1972. I think it was fantastic, super interesting, well written." He's like, "Thanks." I was like, "I'm so sorry. Would you mind if I took a picture with you?"
Wait, you walked up to Ben Stein, told him how big of a fan you were, and you didn't say anything about the TV show he was on that we would all know. You brought up the speech he wrote in 1972 for a president that isn't really well liked.
Yes, because I
thought that was well written.
I didn't want to be one of those fanboys who's like, "I loved your show," or Ferris Bueller.
Please don't be that fanboy.
I don't want to be that.
Be the guy who like makes it look like you've been stalking Ben Stein for the last 15 years.
Well,
the speech in 1972.
I enjoyed the man. So he is very concerned, but he seems less alarmed now that I've talked about his speech and that.
Because he knows you're a nerd.
Well, yeah, like I'm clearly no physical threat to this man. So I say, okay, well, would you mind if I took a picture with you? He's like, no, that's fine. I handed it to the woman he clearly indicated he was with, and this was a weird. He's like, oh, she can't take photos.
She's not allowed by law, or
okay. I was like, okay, so I have to aim it where I assume it is correct because again, front-facing camera.
Sure.
And it was 2010, so.
Oh my goodness, there you are.
There it is.
Yes, with Ben Stein. That is killer.
So I'll be honest, he's smiling more than I remembered him smiling in the moment. Because he was not smiling prior to that in any way, shape, or form.
He's a true actor. True actor.
He is. And I am amazed that it went as well as it did. That picture, because I was blind. Oh, I have one other one that I completely forgot about. There's several, but I'll touch one more because it's a more funny photo. I have been fortunate to work at the company that we work at for a number of years, and they have been kind enough to send me to a number of locations to open up different stores.
Sure.
So I've been to New York, Canada.
This is the part in the program where Joe freezes
a little bit different
in a way that is actually really funny and will be great for you to go back and get a screenshot of later on. Exactly. Oh, now you're back. Here you are.
And I'm back. Bad network quality again. What do I pay these people for? So I was in White Plains, New York, opening a store, and I enjoy sports. Baseball isn't a huge sport for me. I know a ton of people love it. I love the Cubs, but I'm not like one of those guys who follows baseball inside and out. But I do know some of the bigger sport. Tommy Lasorda, all these different people who are like really big names in it. Tony La Russa, all these people I know. And one name that I'm very familiar with is Joe Torre, manager. Sure. I knew him primarily as the manager of the New York Yankees for a long time.
Right.
So I found out Joe Torre is going to be at the store opening because every time we do a store opening, there's usually a big musical number, or musical act, I should say, and also a famous sports person of that area. And again, we're in New York, so the Yankees are a pretty big option there.
Sure.
So I'm like, oh, cool. Maybe I'll get to meet Joe Torre. I don't know. I am, so what essentially he's going to do is, I think the first 100 people or so get these special cards, and they're going to play Connect Baseball with Joe Torre. So he's going to just pretend to throw the ball, and they're going to pretend to hit. It's just a fun thing to play baseball.
All right. That's weird, but okay.
It's a stretch.
I'm sure.
They got a chance to play a sport with Joe Torre.
Okay.
We're there. I'm enjoying myself a great deal, setting everything up, making sure everything's perfect for Mr. Torre. I don't want to, make this guy upset or anything. I don't know if he's a nice guy. I don't know anything like that. So I'm setting things up. I'm talking with the guy, and all of a sudden behind me, I feel a hand on my shoulder, and it's Joe Torre, and he's like, all right, so what are we doing here? You guys going to be playing some ball with me or something? I was like, oh, no. That's not my thing. I set up the technology. They're the ones who play with you. He's like, all right, you have the harder job here. I'll admit, hitting a baseball, it's not that hard. And it was just a back and forth. I don't remember exactly what happened, but he was just, honest to God, the nicest guy in the world. Nicest guy in the world. But from the photo, you would not think that. And I assumed, based on this photo, he looks like he's about to shank me in the back of the head. He looks like I did something very wrong to him.
Happy for you. No. But no, sir, he looks like he's about to belt you from behind.
But he is, honest to God, the nicest guy on the planet.
Hysterical.
So those are a few of my favorite stories of how I just randomly meet people in places, and it's strange. I never really expect it, but it is always a story, mostly because I'm a weirdo.
That is awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
Has there been anything from you? Again, being in radio, I imagine.
Yeah. It's a little different, right? Because they're all set up. Like
Right.
you know you're going backstage, you know you're going to meet people, you know you're going to interview them. So it's not really the challenge of, are you going to meet somebody, right? It's more of like how are they going to react, right? So and I have probably some quick hit things, right? Because like some of the interviews you do, it always goes like the ones you think are going to be really, really great don't go great. And the ones you think are not going to go so great or like you're not sure that they're really going to be nice, turn out to be the nicest people you've ever met, right? So I would tell you that. So I don't remember, you remember the artist Vanessa Carlton?
I do.
Okay. So Vanessa Carlton was sick the night that I was supposed to interview her. So they had me go onto her tour bus to interview her.
Okay.
Because she wanted to stay where she was secluded and can drink her tea and, and all that stuff before she went on stage because she was still going to do the show. And again, sometimes there's standard questions that you ask, right? So the first album comes out and it's been a success, and you say, hey, your second album, I know you're probably working on something for your second album. Tell me about any collaborations you want to do. So maybe there's somebody you want to work with.
Sure.
And she literally looks at me and goes, I don't collaborate with anybody. I write all my own stuff. And I'm like,
okay.
And then, interview quickly just ends from there. Um, um, weird. So I'll tell you two stories. I'll tell you a kind of a funny story. This is the one time I did actually meet somebody I wasn't planning on meeting, and it was in an airport of all places. I'm in Baltimore at a wedding of all things.
See?
And my buddy and I have to go to the airport and pick up the best man.
Okay.
All right. And so I'm not in the wedding. My buddy's not in the wedding, but they said, hey, our best man's flying in. We can't get away. Can you go pick him up? Sure. Drive to the airport, and this was still at a time when you could get down to like a gate. Like you didn't have to have a boarding pass to get past security and all that. Right. So we go through security, go in, and we're standing there and the plane's delayed and we're waiting and we're waiting. And all of a sudden I see this guy and I know him. And I look and I'm like, no way do I know this guy. Like I can't be. Right? And he goes and he sits down, and I go, that's him. I got to get up and just go say something, right? I'm a big fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I walk over and I walk around, and this is before he is the new host of Let's Make a Deal. This is when he was still doing Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yes.
I say, hey, Mr. Brady, I'm a really big fan. I just want to say hi. So Wayne Brady's sitting there, right? And I didn't want a picture. Didn't ask for an autograph or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just got a chance to talk to him, meet the man, right? Walk away. And we walk away. And my buddies are like, of all the people who go someplace and meet somebody famous, why is it you?
Right? Of course.
Because that was my life, right?
Right.
Just with artists and everything. But I will tell you the first ever backstage story I have, it's pretty funny because I've never been one of those people that got very starstruck. Like I was so young when I was in radio because I started radio when I was 15 and 16. So at that time, like just meeting people was really cool, right? And so you kind of got used to meeting artists and stuff. But the first time I ever went backstage and actually did an actual official meet and greet, I'm working in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and Aerosmith is in town.
Ooh.
And we're going back to take Winners back to meet Aerosmith. Now, love Aerosmith, but I wasn't a huge fan. Like I knew their hit records. Again, like I knew the hit records. I wasn't really, in that generation that grew up with Aerosmith, right? But I knew their big songs. And so it was cool, right? And I'm back there. But the girl that worked middays for us was beside herself. This is her all-time favorite band. Like this is the band of all bands. Like for me, it's U2.
Yeah.
Or the Beatles, right?
Sure.
For her, it was Aerosmith. So we go back and they have, all the artists are sitting in a row, right? And there's Joe, right? And there's Steven Tyler and then the rest of the band, right? And so they're the first two, and she is just beside herself with excitement, right? And we get up to them and we have a little thing to sign, right? And she hands it over, right? And they sign it and they're talking to her, and Steven Tyler signs it and he's talking to her and she's not saying a word. Like not saying a word.
Right.
And I'm just kind of like, well, whatever, man. Hey, yeah, how you doing? So they're talking to me and stuff. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, she blurts out, how's your Uncle Bob? And
oh boy.
Steven Tyler looks at me like, what in the world, right? And she goes, well, don't we all have an Uncle Bob? And I go, and I pat her on the arm and I go, she's really excited to be here. Like, they just start laughing, right? So she goes down the line and they're like, hold up. And they like, said, talk to me for a little bit more, right? Because they thought I was funny. Right. And so we had this whole conversation and everything. We get all the way through the line. We go back out. And we're outside now, right? And she literally looks at me and with tears in her eyes going, how could the only thing I think to say is,
oh, that's phenomenal.
I feel so bad for her because I literally am like, I could have cared less, I guess, you know, in some ways. So it was like, you know, now looking back on it, I go, oh my God, I met Aerosmith, right? I had this whole conversation with them all around the fact that this crazy person who I worked with, who I love to death, was like, how's your Uncle Bob? Right? That was her moment to meet the band of her life.
That's so good.
And that's what she came up with. So there you go. How's your Uncle Bob? Oh. Yeah. I had an embarrassing moment. I'll tell you one other embarrassing moment I had. I was so radio station switched format right early on. You know, radio doesn't really do that anymore, but it used to be like radios had independent owners and those owners were fighting for whatever dollars they could get. And sometimes they would switch format because if country became popular, they'd switch to country, or if, you know, alternative became popular, they switched to that, whatever. And so the station I was on, one of our sister stations had switched to country and they started doing all these country concerts and stuff. And they had to do this interview. And they were like, you know, we don't have anybody to do it. Can we send Dino to go do it? Right. Like, just go do the interview. Right. And so it's canned, recorded, right. You know, whatever. And then just play it back. And what a lot of times they'll do, they'll take the answers and splice them out and ask the question as if they're doing the interview. Oh, right. You're just basically going there to get the reaction. Right. And so I'm waiting for this guy named Randy Travis. And he's not the tallest man you've ever met.
Okay.
Which I didn't know. Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know what he looks like because I've never done country. I'm like, I'm not involved in country. I don't know country. Right. And so I'm at this thing and I'm standing around and I'm looking around and I'm like, when the hell is this guy ever going to show up? And this guy right over here, right to my side says, you mean me? I had looked right over the top of him. Didn't even realize he was there.
That's fantastic.
That was Randy Travis.
I know Randy Travis. I have one song that I love of his, and that's
Your Love's Deeper Than the Holler.
No.
Oh, it's not that one?
Is it Still Over?
I don't even know that song.
So can I tell you why I like that song?
Sure.
Have you ever seen the movie National Treasure 2, Book of Secrets?
Of course who has not?
It's a great movie. I love both those movies.
I love all those movies. Are you kidding me?
Nicolas Cage is okay in my book, but those movies can do no wrong.
Oh, I really want to know if the back of the Declaration of Independence has a map on it.
Who doesn't?
And I want to know if the Book of Secrets is real.
I'm sure it is. How could it not be? I'm so sorry. There's just no way. Anyway, we'll talk about that. So in the movie, when they're planning the president's birthday party at Mount Vernon,
right,
Randy Travis is playing. And he's playing the song, Is It Still Over?
Oh, I had no idea.
And that's the only time I ever heard it. I'm like, ooh, catchy. I don't know why. And that's the only reason I like it. That's it. That's it. A lot of the times when I find music that I like, I hear blurbs of it in a movie. And I have to wait until the end to figure out who the hell it was, what the name of it is, and search for it.
Very nice.
Oh. I'm glad this wasn't 2010 where you'd have to like go to a record store and buy the CD and hope you got the right freaking one. You can just search for it now.
And then find out it wasn't even on the album.
It wasn't even the right thing, and it's a crap album. You just wasted $20 on a freaking
to get
album.
12 songs. Oh, that's awesome.
What?
Oh man. All right, so I had something I wanted to ask you about today because I had a funny moment today.
Okay.
So I am not a millennial.
Yes.
But you are.
It turns out I am, very begrudgingly.
Yes, and so you've obviously heard of TikTok.
I have.
And there's been a whole thing on TikTok this past week where millennials keep getting called old by the Generation Zers. Have you heard about this?
Mm-hmm. I've had it happen to my face.
Do you know the things that so there's been 5 ways that have come out of how we now realize that millennials are now old?
Okay. I don't know what they are, but I would love to find out.
All right. So the first one, is the dreaded skinny jeans. Do you wear skinny jeans? Have you ever worn a pair of skinny jeans? Would you ever wear a pair of skinny jeans?
No to all the above.
So I am so bad with skinny jeans, I won't let my 5-year-old wear them.
No.
I
What?
cannot.
Why?
They make them for
I,
5-year-olds. It's
why?
ridiculous. I
I
don't
don't
know.
understand that.
You go to a children's place and they have skinny jeans. I'm like, no, these are, I can't stand them unless they're on women. And
Yeah.
then the second part is, let's see, the side part.
Like just parting your hair to the side?
The side part, yeah, parting your hair.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I do all the time.
So, now everything's the middle part. Did you know
The
that?
middle part,
They're back to the middle part, right? Where all your hair hangs down.
you mean what I did from the ages of like 1 to like 9?
Right.
And I got my butt kicked because I was one of those middle
Well,
part kids.
not anymore, my friend. You can go back to your side part days because it
Yes.
is back.
No, I will continue the side part because I have grown past that.
So the third thing is the laughing emoji. So the emoji is laughing so hard with the tears coming out, crying.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, the overuse of that has now been replaced by Gen Z for the skull emoji and the clown emoji. So those that use that emoji is basically like like typing in all caps.
So it's funny that you say typing in all caps because I'm going to bring this to my parents.
Yes.
Feel everything needs to have all caps, and then they end any sentence, whether it's "I love you," whether it's your aunt is sick, whether it's "we just won the lottery." It's all caps.
Yeah.
Dot. They always put an ellipsis after every communication via text message.
Yes. Yes.
I love you. Dot. Aunt Linda's in the hospital. Dot. We just won $25 billion. Dot. And I always think, and you're clearly alluding
Right.
to something else. So what is it?
And we're giving it to you? Like, yes, exactly.
So yes, okay. I understand that. I did not know that. The crying emoji is now. I know my girlfriend still uses that pretty regularly. I use it sometimes, but okay, that's interesting that it is equated to typing in all caps. Okay.
So let me ask you a question. So where do you go to communicate with all your friends, to catch up, to find out what's going on in their lives?
Text message, probably.
Or?
A phone call.
Okay. Or if you were to go online, you want to see what was going on with your friends, where would you go?
Probably Facebook.
Right? So like the masses of people on Facebook. Yeah.
Right.
That's not how Gen Z communicates. They actually communicate through Snapchat, and texting and Facebook is considered to be what you old people do. So yes, Instagram, Snapchat, that's the communication of the future. And unfortunately, all you old millennials use Facebook.
I don't understand that. Like,
you be old like me and don't even use Facebook. Like I have one. I can't tell last time I was on it. So
I have one, and the only reason I really have it is because my friends tend to, well, back when we could have parties and like a celebration or a get together. That's how they would send it out. That's really the only reason I do it. I don't post anything to it. Yeah, that's about the extent of it. But that blows my mind because I remember when Facebook came out, it was about 6 months old when I signed up for it in 2005.
Right.
And I remember when it was only students. And then when I found out my parents could get on, I was done. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. My mother's gonna it's just gonna be a barrage.
She can see what I say.
This is a terrible idea. This is awful. But
and then the last part, the last thing for you, is capitalizing your sentences.
You mean using proper grammar?
Yes. So I don't know if you know this or not, but you can actually go on your phone and turn off the setting that automatically capitalizes the first letter of your sentence.
Why would
you know you can do that?
Why would you do that?
That is the way that this next generation communicates. They don't communicate in proper grammar with capitalized.
So I've always been told I have an old soul. And I think you can tell that based on the things I've done in my life.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
And I am the person who, when I text, I use proper grammar, full words, and punctuation. Commas and everything. Every time, no exception.
I would agree with that. And then so here's what happened, and I'll tell you why I went through those topics today. It was actually kind of funny, and it made me laugh, but it also made me pause because I couldn't laugh.
Okay.
So my 10-year-old has a phone, and he has a friend who lives in Georgia.
Okay.
They met while we were on vacation at the beach, and they play Roblox together.
Okay.
And she sent him a text, and it took hieroglyphic readers and scientists from afar to figure out the message that was in all emojis. It wasn't, there wasn't a sentence at all.
Not
it
a
was
word.
literally picture. And my son goes, I think it means this, Dad. And he was way closer than I was to figuring out what the hell that said.
Okay.
I'm not joking. And I'm like, at the end of it, I think she got a phone for her birthday. Like, that was like, but it was like phone and birthday cake and yay. And, I'm telling you, like, it was like another world of communication for an old person like me that I was like, man, that I could even like keep up with it. I felt pretty good. Yeah. But I'm telling you, like, it's a different world. It's a different world of communication than you would ever imagine.
So at work, there are some younger people who are like 17, 18 years old. And, they said, what's your Snapchat? Because, they want to know. And I was like, what's my Snapchat?
What is your Snapchat?
So I have one.
Oh, do you really?
Merely because somebody told me to sign up because they were going to get me a date. 9 years ago.
Know about this?
This was before we ever got together.
Okay.
This was before we ever got together.
This is how we met, Dean.
This is how don't knock it, Dean. That's how we met. No, I'm kidding. We met on Farmers Only, but
on Facebook.
But
Farmers Only.
We wanted to merge our neighboring farms together to make
Amish
one
only.
massive. Yes, Amish only. We should make fun of the Amish. Oh, wait, they're never going to see this. So what's the difference? It's who cares?
Technology day or whatever, week or whatever.
Rumspringa?
Rumspringa. And then they're going to dial this up and be like, oh, these two guys, I've heard about them.
Sons of... no, but so I have a Snapchat only because of that. I have never used it since. I don't know the password. So when she asked me that, I was like, I don't know. I have one, but even if I found the name, I can't access it. I don't know how to get into it.
Brilliant.
She's like, how do you converse with people? How do you talk to people? I'm like, well, the thing you have in your hand is a phone. So I call people or I'll shoot them a text message. And she's like, oh my God, why do you do that? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, that's how I talk to people. Like, hey, how are you? Let's meet next Tuesday at this time. She's like, well, we use Snapchat for that nowadays. And I'm like, why? Because it disappears in case someone looks at our phone. And I was like, well, maybe I'm just old and I have nothing to hide, but I need to check stuff I've talked to people about 3 days ago to remember what the hell it was. I do. Like, I need that.
Oh, I agree. Absolutely.
And she was like, oh yeah, no, like, what if, my parents came in? I was like, right, I forgot. You're like 18 years old, 17 years old, whatever. Yes. Okay. Because when I was that age, we didn't have cell phone. I didn't have a cell phone. I maybe had like one of those really big bricks that my parents gave me for emergencies only. We passed notes. Literally, we wrote on a piece of paper with a pen, wrote a note, gave it to somebody we knew, and that eventually got to that person. That's literally what it was.
And actually faster than U.S. mail service.
Oh, God, yes. Back then and now, without question.
So let me explain to you why I actually went and looked at this story today. Yes. So first thing this morning, get up, with snow day, the kids aren't going to school today, right? So I'm talking to my wife, and she brings it up. She says, I don't know if have you heard this thing about how millennials are being called old because Gen Z says that they do this, this, and this, right? And that makes them old, right? And I was like, without thinking, because my wife is a millennial, I say, well, millennials are kind of getting old now. They're all starting to hit 40. And without
how did that go?
A pure emotional reaction of, hey, I'm not there yet. Came ringing out of my wife.
That's fantastic.
And I went, oh.
Okay. Just look. You got to pause for a second. Think about this.
Yep. Okay. And there was no recovery at that point. She then ignored me and went to go take a shower. Which is,
Because I wanted to look at the exact area of time that a millennial fits under. It is from 1998, or excuse me, 1980 until 1994.
Right.
So if you're born between those periods of time, which is such a wide period of time.
Yes, it was a very big generational period.
And I'm like, I would like to say I snuck in by 6 years. That's it. Like those small 6 years, I'm in there. So I'm on the beginning end of it. So
my wife's on the tail end. Yes.
Yeah. So it's
and I missed it altogether. Altogether. I don't. In fact, I don't even know what we were called. What were we called?
Baby boomers? No, you're not a baby.
No,
Gen X.
No. I think I'm Gen X.
Gen X, because my mom
there was X, then there was Y, and then Y was the millennial. I don't remember how it goes.
Well,
I'm an old man trying to remember things, but yes, I was part of Gen X, the me generation.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
you're supposed to be the U generation.
Well, yeah. Which, honestly, for a while there, I agreed with it. But as we aged, well, as some aged, not all, it tends to be more, I don't know, different. Because I remember meeting people who were millennials, like, to me, solid millennials, like in the 90s they were born.
Yeah.
And I'm like, good Lord, I am not part of this. But now we are all getting up there in age. Yeah. I'm going to be 35 soon. And I'm like,
I remember 35.
Well, so I
do. I remember it.
Well, when I turned 25 years old, my dad had this talk with me. Son, you're 25. You can rent a car without any sort of extra, liability money or anything, and life goes downhill from here pretty fast. So enjoy.
It's pretty late to get that conversation at 25.
Well,
usually the birds and bees conversation happens a little earlier.
That one was like 21.
You were a bit of a late bloomer.
I was 21. But being 35, like somebody asked me, oh, what year were you born? And I was like, 1986. And they're like, that's like 30 years ago. And I'm like, it really wasn't. It was like, holy crap. Like I forget that my age equates to the number of years ago it was.
Right. I love the people trying to claim like my generation's right to when they were born. That's my favorite part. Everybody, so I was born in 1970, right?
Okay.
And so I was 10 years old in the 80s. Mm-hmm. Right? The 80s, even though I was born in 70, like by the time I got to be where I could remember anything, it was pretty much the 80s, right? But I love those people trying to like claim like the 80s as if it was their era when they were born in the 80s. I'm like, you don't remember anything from the 80s when you were born in 84.
So
let's be honest.
I will admit to you that I definitely did that for a while because a lot of the things I really like are from the 80s that I figured out in the 90s because I was born in 86, right? So I was, a big 90s child. So I remember all the stuff from the 90s that I grew up with, but there was so much stuff from like, for instance, Hall & Oates. Freaking love Hall & Oates. That's what Huey Lewis in the News. I was in a cover band from Huey Lewis in the News. I literally played guitar in a band that played only Huey Lewis in the News covers. We did not do well at all, but
you had like 4 songs.
Yeah. It's the Power of Love.
It's a short set.
It's the Power of Love. This is it. I Want a New Drug.
Yeah.
And what was the other one we always played? I can't even remember. That's how.
Yeah.
What was the
very short show?
Oh, Back in Time from Back to the Future.
Oh yeah, gotta go.
I love that song.
Time. But I remember seeing Destiny's Child when they came out with 4 members, the original band, and it was they opened for another band. I don't remember who it was, and they only had the EP, and it only had 3 songs on it. Sure. So they literally did the first single twice during that set. They literally
you do what you got to do,
and then they opened with it, and then they closed with it.
That's how you got to do it.
Oh, there you go.
That's how you got to do it.
Oh, very funny. Very funny.
Well, now I feel old. Thank you.
Yeah. Anytime I can make you feel like me.
That's all right.
It's the Dino and Joe Show.